Now we're live. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this exciting and insightful webinar. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by Rob Fellows, who is a very highly respected animal Reiki master. Rob has devoted his career to using the power of Reiki to enhance the well-being of animals and their humans. Rob's unique expertise lies in using his Reiki to support dogs with a wide range of behavioural, emotional and physical challenges. And Rob's here tonight to talk about how Reiki can be incorporated into our work to strengthen connections, foster emotional balance and create more harmonious environments for our dogs. We hope you'll gain valuable insights into how this gentle, non-invasive practice can complement your contact with dogs too. We'll be starting with a presentation, followed by a Q&A session to finish. Please type any questions or comments into the chat box for us to have a look at in the final part of our event. If you experience any technical issues during the webinar, please simply leave the meeting and rejoin us. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Rob, who's agreed to speak to us this evening. Thank you for coming, Rob. Really appreciate it. And I'll hand over to you.
Well, thank you very much. And a warm welcome to everybody who's tuning in to watch this presentation. And thank you very much for that lovely welcome. It's my pleasure to be here to talk to you. So tonight I want to talk to you about Reiki for dogs. And to talk about how Reiki can help you with the dogs that you work with, therefore to help support your work. And there's also the potential for an additional income source. So I'm Rob Fellows, and I have this very grandiose title of International Reiki Master Teacher. And as the introduction has said, I've spent many years working with Reiki and training other people so that they can bring Reiki into their lives too. And I started with Reiki way back actually in 1999. And at that time, I had a lower back problem. I've got quite a hollow back. That's my excuse of my stomach sticking out, is my hollow back. And this is like back in 1999, somebody had said to me, hey, have you tried Reiki on your back? And I said, well, to be honest, I don't really know what you're talking about. But anyway, they said, well, come along to our house and we're having what's called a Reiki share, whereas various people who are able to do Reiki, we invite people across and you lie on a massage bed or a therapy bed. And I found myself with about 3 or 4 people placing their hands gently on various parts of my body and holding that position for a while. And they particularly concentrated on my lower back where my problem was. And it felt really, really warm and comforting, a bit like a hot water bottle kind of warmth, not just, touch warmth, but really, really warm. And so when I got off that therapy bed, it actually helped to reduce my pain in my back and helped to increase my mobility. And I thought, wow, this is pretty good stuff. Now, at the time, I had Joe, the Springer, as you can see in the slide, on the slide. And Joe had developed arthritis in his front paws. And they'd both become swollen and kind of gnarled, and he couldn't walk properly. He had to flick his paws in the air in order to walk, and in doing so, he dragged them on the pavement and they bled, and it was pretty unpleasant, really. So his vet prescribed him some, I think it was Metacam, I think he was prescribed. But also he was prescribed, or probably more the point sold, a pair of leather little shoes so that he wouldn't have to flick them on the floor. But the trouble is he then had the weight of those two to lift as well. So I thought, if this Reiki has helped my back, maybe I can help Joe. Now, I'm not trying to suggest for 1 minute that Reiki will cure arthritis because, well, I don't think anything will cure arthritis. But I thought if I can help his mobility a bit, maybe reduce his pain, then that's got to be something that I'd like to do. So I very quickly went off and found out about some Reiki and how I could learn Reiki for myself. And that's what I did back in 1999. So what is Reiki? Well, Reiki is loosely made up of two Japanese words, rei and ki. Now the rei, R-E-I, really means universal, as in everything that's all around us. And then the ki, the ki, relates to energy. You might not be familiar with the word ki, but you might have come across chi, C-H-I. Now, chi is the Chinese version of energy, but in Japanese, it is ki, K-I. So you put the two together and you've got universal life energy, or sometimes it's called universal life force energy. So this is working on the basis that there is energy all around us. There's energy in the atmosphere, there's energy in whichever room you're in, and we have energy running up and down our bodies. You're using energy listening to me and watching my slideshow, and I'm using energy talking to you. Now, at times that energy gets blocked and doesn't flow very well. So I don't know, perhaps you've said things yourself like, oh, I've got no energy today, or I don't feel right today. I feel a bit out of sync. You know, I don't feel quite right. Well, in my world, that's because your energy's blocked and it's not flowing very well. So the person who can do Reiki will tap into this freely available universal energy, and they act then as a conduit, passing on that energy to the recipient. And that's the fundamental principle of Reiki. It has these three, in my view, these three primary purposes. And one is to boost energy. So if you've said, I've got no energy today, then maybe you need a boost of energy. So Reiki can help give that boost of energy. If you've been saying things like, oh, I don't feel right. You know, I've got out of bed this morning. I just don't feel right. I just don't feel balanced. So Reiki can help to give you that kind of balance, and it can help to revitalize you. So it's pretty simple stuff, but powerful stuff. The beauty of Reiki is that it's all about gently placing your hands on various parts of the recipient's body. So it involves no pushing, no pulling, no prodding, no manipulation, no invasion, no needles, no pills or potions. And its biggest benefit and biggest advantage, I feel, is that you can do no harm with Reiki. Now, I know that a lot of you tuning in will already be working professionally with dogs in various capacities. And as you know, you have to have an awful lot of training and an awful lot of experience. And then if you're not careful, whatever you're doing with that dog, whatever work you're doing with that dog, if you get it wrong, you could actually be doing more harm to that dog than benefit. But the beauty of Reiki is you can do no harm. So as I've mentioned, it's about gently placing your hands on the dog. In a different, sorry, we're talking about dogs now, but about whether it be dogs or people, actually, it's about gently placing your hands on the recipient. But it doesn't overly matter whether you've got your, but you can see myself in this image. Let's say there's a problem with the elbow here. It doesn't matter whether you've got your hand there, or there, or there, or there, or there, because you can do no harm. Whereas with some other modalities and with some other work you're doing with the dog, if you actually don't get it in quite the right place, whatever you're doing with them, then, as I say, you could do more harm than you can do good. Reiki isn't like that. Now, Reiki is both non-addictive and you can't overdose on Reiki. So let's say, for example, that you decided to receive Reiki from somebody every day for 30 days, i.e. for a month, and then stopped. Well, On the next day, you wouldn't be craving Reiki. Your body wouldn't crave Reiki, i.e. you're not addicted to it. Equally, you might think, well, I don't need Reiki every day for 30 days. Well, even if you did have some for 30 days, then you're not going to overdose on it. It's not going to make you ill, because primarily it's all about gentle, natural relief. So it's all about transferring energy. Therefore, Reiki is an energy healing therapy, natural energy healing therapy. And it's a holistic therapy. So simultaneously, when you're giving Reiki to a recipient, it's going to be assisting that animal or that person on both a psychological level and a physical level at the same time. So physical level, obviously, we're talking about helping to reduce anxiety, stress, and all those kind of problems that occur from a psychological level. But then equally, you're also helping on a physical level, i.e. giving pain relief. And because they work simultaneously, it may well be that you're looking to help somebody who has, again, let's go back to the elbow. They've hurt their elbow, but by you giving them Reiki, you're not only trying to help to reduce the pain in that elbow, but you're also helping them on a holistic, emotional, psychological level as well. I have a firm belief. I'm not. I would hasten to add, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a vet. However, I have this belief that our emotional side is not. It's very much interrelated to our physical side, and they're not separate. So, in other words, again, this is my view, that if somebody has a physical problem, let's say they've got stomachache, for example, or pain in their stomach, then if that person is suffering from some sort of some psychological problem or some stress issues that hasn't been dealt with, then I feel that has the potential to manifest itself in some physical ailment. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone who has a stomach problem shouldn't be seeking out medical support, because yes, of course they could do, because there could be something wrong, something seriously wrong that needs some medical intervention. However, again, I believe that we as people tend to not be very good at dealing with emotional problems, baggage, I call it, emotional baggage. And I have this kind of image that that most people, I include myself probably with this, most people will walk around with some sort of bag over their shoulder of trauma, a bag of trauma that they're carrying around. And that trauma could be big things like divorce, bereavement, I don't know, things like house sales that have fallen through, bullying at work, these kind of, financial problems, all big things that can cause stress and trauma and anxiety. Then you add to that, in the mix of everything that goes on during the day, like, somebody doesn't speak to you nicely, or you can't get a parking space, or there's your car won't start. All these kind of things all fill the bag up, and then we end up carrying this bag of trauma about with us. And in my view, if this isn't dealt with by perhaps having some talking therapy, some counselling, talking therapy, these kind of things, then there's the potential for that to manifest itself in physical problems. Therefore, the beauty of Reiki is that if that is the case, and somebody has a physical problem, but it's kind of potentially stress related, then Reiki can help to help as a coping mechanism for that person who's got those kind of trauma type issues. So Reiki can be used on people, on cats, on horses, Actually, this particular horse here, you can see how big he is. Is as tall. His shoulders are as tall as me almost, and he was 17 hands one. 17 hands one. So pretty big horse, and weighed about a ton. And when horses receive Reiki, I mean, horses are very intuitive and they really enjoy receiving Reiki. But what they tend to do is they tend to fidget about, so they'll move about a bit. They don't keep still, and they have the potential to actually lie down. So if you're giving Reiki to a horse in their stable, you've got to be careful you don't get yourself trapped, because they can lie down and lie on you, and you're going to get trapped underneath them. This horse, 17 hands one, feet were huge, like this, massive big feet, and was fidgeting about. And he had his 1 foot was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches above mine, and if he put his foot down on me, he'd have broken my foot. Luckily, I quickly whizzed my foot away, and I have to admit I wasn't wearing steel toe cap shoes, which was a bit silly, to be honest, but that's my error, and I escaped without getting a broken foot. And of course, you can give Reiki to dogs, which I know is very much your area of interest. And this particular big boy, as you can see, is a St. Bernard. About 20 seconds before this photograph was taken, he was standing up. But the Reiki is such a relaxing kind of therapy. And if any of you have ever had Reiki, and you've been a recipient and received Reiki, you may well have experienced that you fell asleep, actually, because a lot of people do when they have Reiki, and they will fall asleep. So this dog, he like I said, 20 seconds or so before the photograph was taken, he was standing up, and then he just kind of relaxed and went to lie on the ground. And so his owner and me, the owner's just off the lead. See the lead poking off there? The owner's holding the lead. We very quickly went to him and just helped him lie down so he didn't go sort of crashing down to the floor. So Reiki for dogs. And then just as a little slide for the slideshow, some other animals then that I've given Reiki to. We've got a skunk here, believe it or not. A very fidgety blooming thing. He wouldn't keep still. It was difficult to get that photo and to try and get some Reiki on him. We got a tarantula, and we got a hamster and a little hedgehog. So a few different animals that over the years I've given some little Reiki, bits of Reiki to. Now, part of my purpose really is to try and dispel some of the myths that might be around Reiki. And the first is that absolutely anybody can do Reiki if they choose to do so. Some people who work with Reiki can have the kind of view that they're special. I've been chosen to do Reiki. I'm very special. Well, we're all special in our own way, aren't we? But the fact is that anybody can do Reiki it's more a case of you choosing to do it rather than you being chosen to do it, if that makes sense. So that's the first myth that I try to dispel. Secondly, that Reiki is very quick and simple to learn. In lots of the work that you do with dogs, I know you've had many years of training and lots of exams, lots of learning to do. But Reiki isn't like any other kind of learning that you've done. It's very quick and simple to learn. It's really about practice. And in order to do Reiki, you need to be what's called attuned by someone like myself, which is from a Reiki master. And that's a little process that just triggers your natural ability to tap into the Reiki, to the energy, and then to transfer that. You're this conduit. You're transferring not your own energy, but the energy that's all around us. You're offering it up to the recipient, whether that be a human or a dog or any other kind of animal for that matter. And also, that Reiki is something that's normal. It's a normal thing you might want to do. And I like to use an example. If you think back to when you were a child, and if you fell over and banged your knee, what would your parent do? Well, hopefully they wouldn't just tell you to get up and stop crying. Hopefully there'd be a bit more empathy, and they'd probably do something like kiss it better, or rub it better, or just stroke it, or just hold you. And that's because I think we have this natural instinct to want to be tactile. You're with the work that you do, you're tactile with dogs, aren't you? You're all touching dogs. You're all having physical contact with dogs, no matter what aspects of the work that you do with them. So it's normal to want to have touch, because Reiki is about touch. Hands-on Reiki, placing your hands on the dog and letting the energy pass into the dog for the dog to actually. It's about self-healing. Reiki. I must mention this. Reiki. There are people who call themselves Reiki healers, and that's actually not quite correct, because really Reiki is about self-healing. As a person who does Reiki, you offer up the energy to the recipient, dog, human, cat, horse, and they, perhaps on a subconscious level, take whatever healing, whatever energy they want in order to try to help them. You're just a facilitator, a conduit of that energy. Therefore, as I say, it's because we were brought up with that element of wanting to be tactile and wanting to be touch. Therefore, it's something normal to want to do. And again, sometimes the people who might be in the first camp, where they think that they're special and chosen and that only they can do it, they might sometimes act in a way that will put off what I call normal people like yourselves, who want to help dogs, want to help people, and want to help dogs. So it's something that's normal to do. So therefore, there's no requirement for you to be going around looking like this in order to do Reiki. That's unless you want to, of course. We all have free choice, and it's entirely up to you if you want to be like that. But as you can see, I don't. Now, the great thing is that Reiki will work alongside and support you with your work. So it will help if you're a behaviorist, if you're a dog trainer, if you work in canine massage, or you might deliver some other modalities such as Tellington T-Touch or any other kind of canine work that you might do. I understand that some of you work in kennels. Great. You'll know, and especially if you're working in rescue centres, where no matter how fantastic, and I've been in a few of the Dogs Trust's premises, and I've been to Battersea as well, and they're fantastic facilities. But no matter how nice they are, that dog is, or the cat actually, or they've still got some sort of trauma going on, haven't they? Because something's happened to them. There's made them end up in Dogs Trust or in Battersea in the first place. And so Reiki is a fantastic thing to help calm those dogs, help to relax them, help to give them healing, which will then enable them to be more likely to find a permanent home, which I think is great. So Reiki can help you with any kind of work that you're doing with dogs, to support what you're doing and work alongside everything that you're doing. Now, Reiki, it also complements all types of veterinary treatments. I mean, a real classic way that Reiki can help is, let's say you've got a dog that's had some surgery, So Reiki can then help to speed up the healing post-surgery. So I think that's a great thing for Reiki to be able to be used for. And Reiki, because there's no manipulation and no invasion, then Reiki doesn't require any veterinary referral. Now, that said, I used to provide a mobile Reiki service for dogs. So obviously, because I'm not trying to diagnose whatever's wrong with the dog, because that's not my role, that's not my skill set, then if there was something that was kind of that was present, I would be suggesting that owner went to see the vet, or indeed I'd be asking the owner why they've come to ask me for Reiki. Have they been to see the vet? So what's been the diagnosis? I'm not going to diagnose. What's the diagnosis? And then Reiki can then help and assist whatever medication has been prescribed for the dog. So there's a whole lot of benefits of Reiki that can help for dogs. So let me just run through them quickly. There's because it's a stress releaser and relaxing, therefore Reiki can help to release stress. It can help to reduce anxiety. So if you've got a dog that is scared of noise, some dogs are scared of everything, aren't they? Then Reiki can help to lower their anxiety, can help to increase their energy levels, help to reduce pain and suffering. As I've just mentioned, actually on the previous slide, it can help to speed up recovery following surgery or an illness. Reiki, as I mentioned, is totally harmless. You can do no harm with Reiki, only potentially good stuff, good things. And it can help to just generally improve that sense of well-being. Now, if you are able to do Reiki yourself, then Reiki is available whenever you want it to be. It's just on tap. It's there in your hand. No special tools required. It's just your hands. Reiki can help to boost the immune system, help to minimize feelings of fatigue. Because it's relaxing and calming, it can help to lower blood pressure and also therefore to aid better sleep. And Reiki is about self-healing, so it can accelerate the recipient's body's self-healing mechanism. It can promote that natural balance if you're feeling a bit out of sync. And as it's a holistic therapy, Reiki will assist in cleansing toxins from the body, and it can help calm a scared animal. So Reiki could potentially be another really useful tool in your toolbox, and it can therefore help you to help the dogs that you work with. And if I can just pose this question, could it be that the difficult dog that you're trying to work with potentially has some pain or some emotional upset that potentially Reiki could help with? I'll leave that one with you to ponder. Now, for those of you who might be interested in bringing Reiki into your lives and into your work, I have a very quick and simple home learning training package, which is Reiki Level 1. That's a generic qualification and includes Reiki for dogs. And let me tell you a little bit about what's involved. So it's as I've said, it's quick and simple home learning, and there's no studying to do, no research to do, no essays to write, no seminars to attend, perhaps apart from this one, and there's no exams to do. So it's pretty straightforward. The training is video teaching and certification. So it includes 4 personal remote attunements from Rob, that's me, in order to trigger your natural inbuilt ability to do Reiki. As I mentioned earlier, the way that you align yourself with Reiki energy is to have what's known as an attunement. And there are 4 of them that are Reiki level 1 that I carry out in fairly quick succession. I include a detailed PDF manual full of colored photographs, which shows you how to give Reiki healing and much more. And it shows you where to place your hands on the dog for optimum healing benefit. You actually receive a qualification. So you actually receive 2 qualification certificates from me confirming that you can give hands-on Reiki to both people and to dogs. And you'll get my ongoing support when you need it via email. Should you need have any questions, any queries, you're not too sure what's going on, what you're doing, you need some guidance, you can always come back to me. I don't just disappear. And I've been around for a while, for a number of years now, doing what I do. There's a complete online video training course available also 24/7, which contains about 6 hours of content. So I've taken the manual and I've converted it into a number of slides, and then done a voiceover. And so that's telling you what's going on in those photographs, and you can access that for any time you like, for 24/7. You can even put it onto an app onto your phone, so you can have that with you while you're at work, and you can be looking at it and saying, well, what did Rob say here? And then you can just have a little look and use that as a guide and as an aid memoir. But Reiki is about getting practice. So the key to it is you have the attunement that gives you the ability to do Reiki, and then you practice and you practice and you practice some more. And the more you do that, the more intuitive you'll get. The more that by that I mean you'll just feel drawn where to put your hands. Now you just have to believe me on that, but that's what happens. You just feel drawn. Oh, I put my hands in. I don't know why, but I just felt drawn to. That's exactly what so many of my students say to me. And you also receive some bonus video modules and some additional guidance that are in the videos but aren't in the manual. And I'm able to award you 8 hours of CPD for that training course. So there's the front cover of the manual. That's me with one of my other dogs. That's Monty, also a Springer, as you can tell. And so there are sections in this manual about giving Reiki for people, about self-Reiki. Now that's because as somebody who is delivering Reiki, you should actually give Reiki to yourself. Some people think, oh, I didn't know I could. Well, actually you can, and you should be giving Reiki to yourself. So if you think about this, if you think on the basis that I've explained that you're tapping into that energy and you're acting as a conduit, passing that Reiki on. Now, if you're not in a good place, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you're not feeling particularly good, then your body on a subconscious level is going to say to itself, actually, I need this Reiki myself. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep all of it. I'm going to keep most of it, rather than you passing it on to the recipient. So that's kind of why it's important that you should be doing some Reiki for yourself. And then of course there's a section and guidance on how you can give Reiki to dogs, and we talk about chakras on Reiki, chakras on dogs, and loads of other information that is in the manual and also in the videos. So you will receive, if you take this course, you will receive from me these 3 certificates. The first is your Reiki level 1 qualification. The second one, you probably can't quite see the wording, but it says that you've been shown guidance on how you can use Reiki on dogs so that you can give them Reiki healing, Reiki natural healing. So these are good certificates to be showing your clients and pinning up on the wall, framing them and showing them to your clients. And you also receive the third one from me, which is your 8 hours of CPD. Now, we talked a lot about dogs, but what about you? Now, maybe you're living with a health condition, or maybe you're feeling, or conditions, or maybe you're feeling stressed and tired. Maybe you're feeling anxious. Well, you shouldn't forget yourself, because this training isn't just about dogs. You probably gathered that already. It's not just about dogs. It's about people as well. So I show you in the training how you can give Reiki to other people and how you can give Reiki to yourself. And these are the fundamental generic parts of Reiki level 1 qualification. And so I love it when people say, "Oh, I'm only interested in the dogs. I'm only taking this. I'm not interested in people." And then as they progress through their training and through their experience, they come back to me and say, "Oh, actually, I've given Reiki to my mother. I've given Reiki to my neighbor. I've given Reiki to my spouse who's got anxiety issues at work and says, 'Oh, will you put your hands on me and we give you some Reiki?'" And so it's important, I think, that you also are aware that this is not just about dogs. It's about anybody in your circle, and including and especially yourself. It's not selfish to give yourself some healing. It puts you in a better place to help others if you're in a good place. So Reiki can therefore help you and your family too. So just to summarize, by taking this training, Reiki level 1, including Reiki for dogs, you will achieve a new qualification. You'll receive 2 qualification certificates. All of my training is supported and is accredited by the International Guild of Complementary Therapists. That's their logo on the slide. You will gain what I call the gift of healing. So when you take on Reiki, you get the ability to give healing. And once I've done these attunements with you, and once you practice, you're going to have those skills for the rest of your life. They don't fade, they don't go away. You've got what I call the gift of healing. Now, the training is tax deductible. You're doing this for your work. You can put that through your business and get tax relief on the training. You gain 8 hours of valuable CPD. And there's also potential, we haven't talked about this yet, but there's potential for another income source. So let me just talk about that. Now, you can either use the Reiki skills that you learn at Reiki level 1 purely to enhance your own work, to enhance your life and your family, and that's fine. However, if you decide to take the next level of training, which is Reiki level 2, and this is known as the practitioner level. And by taking Reiki level 2, you can call yourself a Reiki practitioner. It is also said that at level 2, your Reiki energies are enhanced by as much as 10x, tenfold. Now, I don't know how that's measured, to be honest, but this is what I was taught, and so I pass on the same message. But most definitely, your Reiki skills are enhanced and increased. So that's two super benefits of taking this second degree training, second level training. The third benefit is that it gives you the entitlement to charge for delivering Reiki if that's something that you want to do and choose to do. You shouldn't really be charging for Reiki if you're only level 1 trained, but at level 2 for the practitioner, then that's something that you can do. And so I offer that training as well, Reiki level 2, the Reiki practitioner training, which provides an additional 6 hours of CPD. And probably about 85% of the people that take my training will also do Reiki level 2, because it kind of makes sense really to enhance your training and give you that title and give you the ability to earn some money. So because of that, when people enroll, and I sort of give this as a heads up for any of you who might be interested in taking my training, is that when you purchase the Reiki level 1 training, as soon as it's actually says, ooh, it spins around on your screen and then it says, boom, success. And then I bob up on a little video, bob up like this. No, not quite like that, but bob up. And I say, hey, while you're here, would you like to take advantage of training at the practitioner level, Reiki level 2, for a 50% discount? Now, I do that primarily because it's something I think people should do. I really do. They should take the extra training. So I give that as an incentive to encourage people to take on, as I say, the extra training. So in that case, if you were to do that, you would then receive Reiki level 1 certificate, Reiki for Dog certificate, the Reiki level 2 extra qualification and extra certificate. And then instead of just the 8 hours CPD, you would actually receive a 14-hour CPD certificate. So hopefully that would be something that would be of use to you. Now, before I finish, I've nearly finished. So before I finish, I'd like just to read one of many feedback kind of case studies that I've received. This one is from Karen, who's a canine massage therapist. And she says this: I met Rob at a show and we started talking while he did a demonstration on my husband and on our greyhound. That's Reiki demonstration on our greyhound. I decided to add Reiki to my treatments while I was training to become a canine massage therapist. Rob trained me in Reiki level 1 just before I qualified as a therapist, and I've since then added my Reiki level 2 as well. For me, it is important to be able to offer a well-rounded, holistic treatment plan for all of my clients, and adding Reiki to the massage does just that. The dogs I see come from different backgrounds, and some take a little longer to be comfortable with the massage treatment. I add Reiki to the end of my treatment sessions as I found that it would help the dog to settle more and aid with the healing process. But it also instills trust and an extra bond. My 2 rescue dogs, and they're greyhounds too, have also regular Reiki sessions and they come to me and ask for me when they need it, which is wonderful. Now, I love that because it's bringing Reiki into her world. She's using it to help herself. I know she's using it to help herself and her own personal dogs and in her work. So that's just great. Okay, so I think that probably concludes my talk, and I'd welcome any questions that anybody may have, and please fire away. Or if you haven't got any questions you want to ask now, you're welcome to contact me after today. My email's on there, rob@robfellowsreiki.com. And if you wanted to have a look a bit more detail about the training, there's a link on the slide to the page on my website that tells you more about the training, more what's involved, and from there you can enroll if you choose to do so. Thank you. Thank you,
Rob. Thank you. We have got a question from Victoria. So if anybody's got any questions that they want to post, pop them in the chat now. So Victoria said, thank you, Rob. Are we able to get CPD credits on the Reiki for animals? She already has level 1 Reiki.
The Reiki for animals, I do have a separate training for people who have already got some Reiki qualifications. So whether that be Reiki level 1, level 2, the practitioner, or indeed Reiki master. And that training is called Reiki for Animals. So whether this is what you're referring to, Victoria, I'm not exactly sure. So if you were to embark on that training, there's no attunement involved because you've already had your level 1 attunement. So you've got 2 ways of, actually I'm going to make make you an offer now, Victoria. There's two ways you could do this. If you choose to upgrade yourself and take my Reiki level 2 training, the Reiki practitioner training, like I said, you get that title, Reiki practitioner, then I will give you my Reiki for Animals training. I'll include that for you for free. But that didn't answer your question, actually, does it? Now, your question was, that's just come to mind as I'm talking to you. I do have this training, Reiki for Animals, no attunement involved. It's not just on dogs, actually. It's about Reiki for, it shows you how to use Reiki for dogs, cats, horses, and small furry animals. And so, yes, if you purchase that, you will get some CPD. I can't think how much that is without me just checking the. It's difficult with the CPD. I want to just say this, actually. It's very difficult because I know that the Reiki is all about practicing. So, but I can't control how much practicing you might go off, not you, any of you might go off and do, because I'd love to be able to say, actually, if you did masses and masses of practice and trial and not trial and error, because you can't do it wrong, but lots of practicing, then you potentially could have hours of CPD from it. But it's difficult for me to try to award that because I can't quantify how much you've done. So I've had to keep it as a kind of minimum that I think is fair and realistic. If that's just a side comment about the CPD element. So there will be CPD, Victoria. I can't just think how much that is off the top of my head, but probably looking at, it's about how long it would take you to go through all the slides and through the slideshow and to read the manual. I mean, the manual's quite thick. I reckon we're probably talking 4 hours, I'm guessing, but it's probably around that. Long answer, sorry.
So if Victoria's interested in Reiki too, just to get in touch with you.
She could just go onto my website. I mean, I've only put the link for Reiki for dogs, and so that's aimed at the Reiki level 1. So that link on that page on the slide there takes you to the page for Reiki for dogs, and that's aimed at people who've got no Reiki experience. So that enrolling onto that training would give you your Reiki level 1 attunement. We'll talk to you about Reiki for humans, Reiki on yourself, Reiki for dogs, and so so that's that. If you wanted to do Reiki level 2, then it's the same website, robfellowsreiki.com/Reiki-level-2.
Cool. So it's quite interesting that you work on a number of different species, because I did the same with my T-Touch training, and I think it's a good way to learn how to be observant in the responses that you're getting from a lot of different animals. So I've done T-Touch on tarantulas and scorpions and all sorts, and skunks.
Brilliant.
And hedgehogs.
Brilliant. I've got armadillo photo, and I've got chameleon photos, all sorts.
I've done it on snapping turtles as well on the shell.
Nice. Yeah, well, I've got armadillo and giant tortoise.
I know you said that Reiki is a hands-on a touch, but also you can do it if you've got an animal that's particularly worried about touch, which some are. You don't have to place your hands on, do you?
You don't. That's a very good point. Very good point to make. So when I say hands-on, primarily, we're talking literally placing your hands on, but I hope you can see from my image here. But you can also hover. So let's say you've got a dog or a person who's broken a rib. Now that's going to be pretty painful. any kind of touch is going to like really hurt, isn't it? And so that recipient of the Reiki, I say recipient because that's then generalizing, because it could be a dog, a cat, a horse, a person. You haven't got to actually touch, and the energy, I think you can see that gap between, will still transfer from my hand to the recipient. With an animal, the Reiki is very much about their choice. I haven't mentioned this, and I should have done. It's about their choice. It's not something that you force upon an animal. It's their prerogative whether they want it or not. So with an animal, you offer them Reiki, and they let you know in whichever way they communicate with you whether they want it or not. So if they don't want it, they're likely to go away. So you shouldn't trap them in a corner somewhere, because then they haven't got that choice. You know, they haven't got the choice to move away or not. You know, you're forcing it on them, and it's not about force at all. It's about offering it to them. Would you like this? If you don't, that's cool. If you do, brilliant. Very much so. Choice. Yeah. So, but then there's a third way of giving Reiki, and that's distance Reiki. So whether you were referring to that, I'm not sure. But distance Reiki is when you can send Reiki across a distance. But that's level 2 stuff. You need to be a Reiki practitioner, level 2 attuned, in order to do distance Reiki.
Yeah, no, I was more like you said, just the near contact, but
the hovering.
Right,
I call that hovering technique.
Not imposing. Given the animal, it's a consent-based therapy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Animal says,
and I think that it fits in really well with your ethos and your ethics. That it's not force-based.
Yes.
It's by choice. You offer it. You offer it up to them. They either accept it and want it, or they don't. Yeah.
So Joe asked, do you know if insurance companies are open to covering clients for Reiki sessions?
Well, I'm insured.
But I mean, you know, if somebody wants to claim on their insurance for having Reiki.
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I don't think it is. No, I don't. I don't think.
I don't know whether it comes under complementary therapies, but some insurances do offer complementary therapies. I know the massage is covered and things like hydro, but I'm not sure about Reiki.
I don't think Reiki is. I imagine in due course it's likely to be, because it's more, you know, as time goes by. If you think back to what I said in my talk, that when I first was suggested I might have some Reiki, this was 1999, I hadn't heard of it.
Yes.
But now when I do talks, I do quite a lot of talks at live shows, at live events. And so I ask the audience, put your hands up if you've ever had Reiki. And quite a few put the hands up. You know, what about, have you, maybe you've not had Reiki, but have you heard of Reiki? And probably 75% of the room will put their hand up. There are less and less who, as time's gone on, less and less who've not heard of it. So it's becoming much more widely accepted and
I know it's used in hospitals, isn't it? And places like the Marie Curie Trust for palliative patients. I know it's used in a lot of places like that. So they are recognising the benefits.
They will welcome actually people going in and giving their terminally ill patients some comfort via Reiki. Absolutely, they will. I mean, I think in the USA, they even allow Reiki practitioners onto the ward in various hospitals.
Okay.
I can't see that happening here because they're manic places, aren't they?
Yes.
Really.
Yeah. It's quite interesting what you said about physical illnesses are often accompanied by mental states, because I have experienced the same with one of my sons. Who he suffers with depression and goes into bouts of depression, and I always know when he's starting to go down the slippery slope, because it starts with physical. He his head, he thought he'd got a problem with his brain at one time. He has indigestion and issues with his digestive system, and it always seems to be a precursor to when he's getting into a depressive state.
The depressed state, yeah.
I've used Reiki with him. I mean, he's 31 now. He's not like a young child. And he loves it, absolutely loves it. He has really found it helped him with his illnesses. And he's had some really weird things have happened. Like when I've had him in my clinic and had the massage couch out and have him down for a Reiki session. And he said some weird things, like at one session, he said he thought I'd placed something warm on his chest and left my clinic, gone out and come back in. And I was there the whole time. It was some really strange things. And a lot of people say they see, I mean, we don't get this feedback from dogs, obviously.
No.
But a lot of people say they see colours and all sorts of bright colours and sensations, like you said.
Absolutely. And all sorts of different experiences, and even when I'm doing people's attunements, even though it's remote, so I'm at my home, they're at their home, but I'm carrying out their attunement at a, you know, the person would book a time slot with me, so they know it's happening at that time, and so I will carry out that attunement. Like I said, I'm at my home, they're at their home. And it's amazing the kind of reactions that they get. And this person could be in the USA, they could be down the road, they could be anywhere, and they can, it's just amazing that kind of feedback they get that I get from them, you know.
When I did my training in person, and at times I was thinking, oh, am I going to be like the only one there who's not seeing things or not feeling anything, because I was a bit skeptical, and I wanted to do it for some professional development, some CPD, but actually I found for me it was more about the relaxation that it gave, and the calmness that I like. I did my training with people, but I've used it with the animals that have come in that are a little bit busy, and you know, they don't want hands-on contact, and I've found that it can have like a calming effect. And when you were talking about using it with animals and using it with people, to use it on the animal's person, it sounds funny, has an effect on the dog as well. If you use it on the animal's person and get the animal's person to feel calmer, it sort of feeds to the animal in a way.
Well, I think actually you've touched on another one of my little points here. That if you've got, say, a stressy dog or an anxious dog, I always say, look at the owner. What's the owner like? You know, if they're stressy and they're anxious, or maybe they've got a very busy household, lots of doors slamming, lots of toing and froing and noise and so on, then it's not surprising their dog's a little bit scatty, because that's their environment.
I think
isn't it?
Working with them as a couple is
absolutely. And then of course a dog will sense whatever's going on down the lead, won't they? So you know, if you're working with a dog, and I know you're a canine massager, then I know that, you know, if you're with that dog, excuse me, it's alarm going off. If you're with that dog and you were feeling anxious, they're going to read you like a book.
Yeah.
So
and I think with Reiki as well, you do a lot of meditation and it's just all this breath work and bringing yourself into a calmness. The animal can sense that you're calmer.
Absolutely.
it has a
And
big
they'll react in a positive way then, rather than a negative way.
Yes.
So I would advocate people who've taken on board Reiki to give yourself a little bit of Reiki before you see your next dog client.
Do you know, I do that as well. I do that.
Yeah,
I have a little self-treatment session before somebody comes in, and I cleanse my room as well. I cleanse my room with Reiki.
Cleanse your room, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. And then it's all about energy. So you're clearing the energy and making it a better space for the next dog client that you've got.
So Joe wanted to know, if you're combining T-touch, what percentage of each would you practice?
I would say if you can do T-touch and you can do Reiki, then you just use both. In actual fact, when I said that you'll become more intuitive, what you'll find will happen is that if you are using T-touch on a dog, then providing you practice Reiki, and you're not just taken some training and then done nothing with it, you've got to practice, but then you'll just find that without you even realizing it, the Reiki is starting. You'll sense that energy. It'll just kick in and we'll just start. So that's one thing that I think is really interesting. Then the other thing you could do is, let's say you were giving some T-touch, you might think, oh, actually the dog's fidgeting the mouth a little bit. I want to just stop that, and I'll put my hand on and do Reiki. Then I'll go back to T-touch, and there's no set answer. In other words, you just do whatever you feel drawn to do during that session. You can just mix and match it. You just incorporate whatever you feel is appropriate for that dog at that particular time.
Cool. And Joe also said, do you find clients understand what Reiki is, or do you have to educate them about what it is and the benefits?
Well, again, yes and no. Some will be aware of it because, as I say, when I do a live talk, I say, who's heard of Reiki? Put your hand up. Who's had Reiki? Put your hand up. So more and more people are aware of it. Now, clearly, some people won't be aware of it. And some people might think it's all that woo-woo stuff, like that slide I showed with that lovely hippie couple, Asian hippie couple. But some people will think it's born out of that. So yes, you may have to explain what it is, but you may also have to explain what T-touch is, wouldn't you? If you didn't know what T-touch, never heard of it. So you'd have to explain that to people. There may also be a need to explain what the difference between canine massage and human deep sport massages, for example. So there will be that need to explain to some folks what it is, but you just say, but the best way I suggest this is to actually say, well, why don't you let me just try? I can remember an example when I was at a small show, and in the town where I live, and I had a little stand, and I was just talking about Reiki, and one of our local vets was also had a stand, and she was promoting her veterinary practice, and so we were talking about Reiki and talking about how it can help in a veterinary scenario to support their work. And she said, my husband will be coming in about 3 o'clock this afternoon. He's a hairdresser, and he's got really bad shoulders from leaning over clients doing their hair. When he comes in, I'm going to get him to sit in this chair by you, and I want you to give him some Reiki, but don't tell him what you're doing. So as per plan, he came in around 3 o'clock. She said, sit down here. This man's going to put his hand on your shoulders. You went, what? So put my hand on his shoulders, and he actually got up from the chair and he went, whoa, that is brilliant. So the best way to experience it is to try it, is to receive some of it. You know? And I like it also when I'm saying I might be in a cold environment, like it is currently, cold. And so put your hands on somebody and they go, oh wow, that actually feels really warm. I bet you've got something up your sleeve. And I go, no. And I put my hand on their face. I said, no, you feel my hand. My hand's actually cold. And I go, whoa. I felt warmth when you did that.
Yeah.
So it's clever stuff. So to kind of answer that question, yes, you will have to explain to some people. Not everybody will know what it is. And you just explain to them that it's a very simple, gentle energy healing therapy. You can't do you any harm. And all I need to do is place my hands on you. And can I put my hands on your shoulders, give you a flavor of what I'm doing? See what they say. Well, would you like me to do that on your dog? Or offer it to your dog, more the point.
What are some of the common issues that you see in dogs that respond well to Reiki?
Stress and anxiety, mainly.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work. I've had a lot of canine massage folks do my training because, well, actually, and also a lot of dog groomers. And a lot of dog groomers will, in fact, every dog groomer, unless they're fibbing, will have some dogs that don't like being groomed.
Yes.
They'll have some dog clients that are difficult dogs, awkward dogs, biters, actually, that they don't like being groomed because they're scared of it, or they're frightened of it, or just don't like them.
Or they've not been given any choice.
Or they've been not given any choice. Yeah, I mean, obviously, grooming is important for a dog.
Yeah,
so that a lot of dogs do need to have for their own, but they don't like it.
I've got a good friend who is a T-touch practitioner, and she's fabulous. Sue Williams, and she runs courses for groomers.
I know Sue.
Consent by, do you know Sue?
I know Sue.
Consent by grooming, and it might take a little bit longer. And the difficulty is that a lot of guardians might not appreciate that because they're not seeing the dog coming out with a perfect cut and perfectly groomed. But to Sue, it's more about the comfort of the dog.
Absolutely.
Just getting a welfare groom done, and building up that dog's confidence in having that process.
Absolutely.
So I think Reiki is a good way to introduce contact with the dog, isn't it? Like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because people who work with dogs, as you know, because you're very much one of them, as are your members, then you're getting, in lots of examples on lots of occasions, more close and personal to that dog than the owner does. The owner might cuddle them, but you're getting very close and personal with them. So you're having that, you're in that position where you might notice problems with the dog that the owner hasn't noticed. And so you have a duty of care, in a way, I guess, to that dog for their welfare. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have the benefit.
It can very much support all of that. It can very much support it in a non-force way, and a simple, easy way that actually gives a real good feeling. I mean, you've explained about how you helped your son, so that feels good, doesn't it? You know, you actually helped him. He's 31. Yeah, he's a man, but his mum still helped him,
and he still comes and he'll say, "Can you do that thing?
Can you do that thing to me? Yeah, can you do that thing that you do, Mum?"
He comes and asks me regularly for a treatment. He just finds it relaxing and it calms his nervous system. Yeah,
absolutely. My dog used to do that with me. Like, I'm thinking about Monty the Springer. He also had arthritis. This was in the base of his spine, and he would come up to me, I don't know, 6 times a day, sat at my desk, and he'd come up to me. He's passed now. He'd come up to me, point his backside towards me so I could put my hands on him, and then a minute or so later he'd trot off, and he'd come back when he wanted some more.
That's more Reiki. So, yeah, it's just like such an instinctive type of thing, isn't it? Really, that you're using.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it hasn't got to be a formal. Hasn't got to be lying on a massage bed. It it can be just place your hands whenever you think it's appropriate.
Yeah.
You know,
So
whenever the need arises.
Can you tell us about a memorable or successful case that you've had with Reiki?
With a dog or with people?
With an animal, if you
with an animal. Yeah. I think back to a dog who, when he was young, when he was a pup, he had real heart problems, and his heart was pounding so much that, and he had loads of treatment. I mean, we're talking thousands of pounds of treatment, and his heart was pounding so much that the vet said, if we're not careful, his heart's going to explode and he'll die. So the owners called me in to try some Reiki. So I put my hand on his heart, his heart area, and as they said, it was pounding. It was just like, oh my goodness. But then after about 5 minutes or so, then you could feel his heart slowing down. And I said to the owner who was by me, this dog's name's Pepper. You know what Pepper's heart's like? Put your hand on Pepper now. And she went, oh my goodness. Slow down. Pepper's now about 9. And he's doing very well.
Excellent. So again, it's like bringing calmness and I love
that.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Then from a human point of view, I've got time to mention this. This is what really makes me chuffed, to be honest, is that this is a dog groomer. She did the training, and she fed back to me to say that her son has got ADHD, and he was always in trouble at school. He was only young, he'd be about 7 or 8, I think. Always in trouble at school. And she was always having to go up to the school because he was messing about. Because basically he got pretty minimal attention span, and he couldn't do the work, and he was just in trouble. So having done the Reiki, she said that what she does now is she walks him to school and she places her hand on his lower back, behind his back, activates the Reiki and gives him some Reiki. Then as soon as he sees his mates, she takes her hand away so he doesn't get any. Your mum's holding him. And she said, but since then, he's been a different boy, and his attention span has improved, and she's no longer called to the school all the time. And and I just said, wow, if you get nothing else from the Reiki that you've done, isn't that just fantastic? That you've, I know it helps dogs. Everybody, I know it helps dogs. I know it helps people. But if you can help your family member as well, then I just think that is just incredible. Yeah. Then I had another lady. If I mention this one, this is come to mind. Another lady. She came on a training because she had a dog, but she said that her profession is that she's a nurse and she works in the critical care ward. So sometimes one of her shifts, it might be a 12-hour shift, will be just with one patient or maybe 2 patients. So she said, I'm going to use this on my patients. I'll seek their permission firstly, obviously, but if I can just sit with them, and I'm often just holding their hand because I'm with one patient all day. So if I can just sit there, I'm going to sit there, just put my hand on them and give them some Reiki. Now that warms my heart too. Stories like that. Yeah. So there are plenty of them. Yes.
What challenges do you face? Have you faced with using Reiki? And how do you deal with them? Like, so you get people who think it's a bit woo woo.
Well, to be honest, I have to say I don't. If I was confronted, and I've had this happen to me. People say, "Oh, well, what's this Reiki then? You prove this Reiki to me." And to be honest, and if they're kind of aggressive and that kind of, I just say, no, you're okay. And I don't, to be honest. Yeah. I don't. I'd rather use
your energies into better direction.
So I actually don't. So So, and that's only on rare occasions. But the energy that once anybody can do Reiki, the energy, and whether you've experienced this yourself, I'm not sure, but the Reiki and the energy will radiate from you. I can think of an example, another example, when I was in a queue to get some coffee. And the lady in front of me, she got served, and she kind of turned, and it was almost as if I was a bit close and she might have just clonked into me. So I said, "Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I don't mean your way." She said, "No, it's okay. I knew you were there. I could sense your energy." That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
So they're the kind of things, they're the kind of experiences that you might get. I think of another. I've often had people who've got their dogs might have been arthritic, and an owner would has said to me before now, "Blimey, Rob, my dog's lying quite close to you," and I haven't even spoken to the dog. The dog's lying quite close to me. Normally, and to me that would be nothing, because I don't know that dog. That might be just normal. But they say, no, but actually the dog knows that he's got arthritis and can't move very quickly. So normally wouldn't be lying by someone's feet. They'd be in their basket in the corner of the room, because that's where they feel safe. But actually they're lying quite close to you. Now that's interesting, isn't it? And I haven't even spoken to the dog.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So a dog will present itself to you. Like I mentioned about Monty coming up to me, pointing himself, pointing his problem area to me. So I teach in the training how to offer it to the dog, and what to kind of expect. And some dogs will just take it very, very happily. They'll just accept it and go for it. I was seeing Staffy, and this Staffy had nervous kind of issues. And when I went to their home, this Staffy was running around the room on the back of the sofa, running around, and which is crazy. The owner's husband came into the room, and she said to him, "Oh, just look what you've done now. You just look what you've just done to that dog. Now go out." And the back of his coat on, "Go out." And I thought, well, poor chap, he just walked into the room. The dog was going crazy before. Anyway, I was there to try and offer some Reiki to the dog. So I just sat in their armchair and I ignored the dog, and I let it do its thing, running around. After about 15, 20 minutes or so, the dog on one of its circuits ran round, jumped on my lap and lay down. Yeah. Then I said, "Oh, right, you want some Reiki now? Right, okay."
Ready now. Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that can happen.
Yeah. Is there any situations where you shouldn't do Reiki to a dog?
Well, I think you have to offer it to them, as I say. Reiki can support any kind of therapy and treatment that's being prescribed for the dog. However, if the dog has, say, broken a bone in front of you, then that needs to be set firstly and seen by the vet firstly and set firstly before you try to give any Reiki. Otherwise, the leg might be in the wrong position, and the healing process might start because of the Reiki you've been given, and it's not set properly. So that's a situation where you shouldn't do it. You can actually give Reiki to a dog when it's about to pass. I've done that with my dogs and my mum, actually. It can just help with the last bit of the journey, next part of the journey, as it were. So you can do that. So you can do Reiki in most situations, but if there's a broken bone, no. You can give Reiki to because it's so gentle, it's not intrusive, and it's not going to do any harm, only potentially good.
Yeah. How can Reiki improve the relationship between dogs and owners?
Well, dogs, that's a great question. With dogs and owners, I think that, you mean, would this be a practitioner giving Reiki to the dog to help
Well,
the
I
owner,
was thinking, do you
or
think
the owner himself?
if the owner learns how to...
Okay, yeah. It's a great bonding mechanism, actually, because you're giving healing. It's healing you're giving that dog. You're not just giving it a cuddle. You're actually giving it a purposeful healing, or offering it to them. I must keep emphasizing that. So you're offering it to them, and what a great way to improve the bond. You're giving them healing. Will come to you for that. They'll knock your hand. Loads of people tell me this, that their dogs knock their hand, and they put your hand here, Mom, put your hand there, Dad, that kind of thing. So you will improve the bond and your relationship with that dog. You might help calm it if it's anxious. Fireworks.
Yeah, I find animals often present areas to me when they're in the clinic. They
will, yeah.
It's an area that they want me to work on.
And the great thing is that you've identified that, so they'll shuffle themselves into a certain position. I was giving Reiki. I was doing a demonstration to a group of greyhound rescue people, and my demonstration dog was a greyhound, funnily enough. and this dog had broken both his front legs, and he'd gone down on the track. He had a puncture wound in his bottom, his bum, great big puncture wound, and both legs were in plaster, and he was lying on a duvet. They called this dog Poorly Dog, not unsurprisingly. And I was talking to the group, and I said it has to be the dog's prerogative, and when the dog's had enough, they will let you know. So in whichever way they might do that. So they might get up and walk away, they might run off, they might growl at you, I suppose. I don't know. But obviously, I said, this dog obviously can't get up and walk away because his both front legs are broken and he's in plaster. But about a minute or so later, the dog lifted his head, because he was really relaxed, lifted his head and knocked my hand away with his muzzle, knocked my hand away. And I went, oh, that's my message.
Yeah.
So I stopped a second. I carried on talking, but I stopped doing the Reiki.
Yeah. I do love the greyhounds. They're such lovely animals to work with.
Couch potatoes, aren't they?
And they have quite a few injuries, the ones I've seen, typical injuries from the racing, back injuries, and they all seem to have very similar injuries. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful animals. So what we've looked at courses that you've got. So what do you see, Reiki? How do you see it as part of the future of holistic animal care?
I wish it was taught at school, frankly. I do, because it's so simple to do. It's not some crazy academic thing you have to do. You don't have to actually learn lots about physiology or anatomy, because, as I've said, you can't get it wrong. I mean, I do include a couple of diagrams in my training for those who've got no idea at all. Yeah. But I imagine an awful lot of people who tuned in on this webinar will already have a lot of knowledge about that, far more knowledge than is required, actually. So you don't have to have loads and loads of knowledge, but I think it could and should be taught in school, because then everybody can have this ability to help one another and all around them.
I don't think we pay enough attention really to self-care and relaxing and using modalities to bring some calmness into our lives. We're busy. We're on the go. Got all sorts of iPads and phones and electric devices buzzing away. And to take a step back and just to bring some calmness and self-healing in is a benefit to us physically
especially when it's not difficult to do. It's not something that's hard to do. It's not. You just literally, if you've had a stressy day at work, you can literally just sit with your head on with your hands on your head. Not in a case of, I don't mean like in desperation, oh no. I mean, just to give yourself, because humans, we hold most of our stress in our heads. So if you just place your hands on your head and you can be watching TV doing it. You can have your dog lying on your lap with one hand on the dog watching the TV. Yeah. A glass of wine, whatever. It hasn't got to be some formal. I mean, it can be. There's nothing absolutely wrong with having a formal session. That's beautiful. But you haven't got to do that in order to achieve benefits for the dogs or for people. You could have a family member could be sat on the floor while you're on the sofa with your hand on their shoulders and you're both watching TV, but you're giving them some healing. Have your dog, like I've said, on your lap, giving them some healing.
Lovely. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Rob. We've got no more questions. Jo made a comment about snakes. I think she's talking about at Tilly Farm when we're studying T-Touch. We have huge snakes coming, pythons that are like, I think the one we all had to carry it. It was about 14 stone, this python, and we were practicing T-Touch on that. That's really it's really a strange thing, actually, because I hadn't had any contact with animals like that before, but they're actually really tactile, a snake.
Yeah.
And you can see the movement of the skin because of the markings.
Absolutely. When they're moving, it's
massive albino python.
They're amazing. Well, I've got a nice photograph of me with Seth the python. Actually, I could put that in one of my slides.
Yes. And he liked Reiki, did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So thank you ever so much, Rob.
No, thank you.
An enlightening chat and your presentation. Thank you.
No, thank you.
And your passion for Reiki just shined through. I've enjoyed listening to you.
Well, if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to ask me separately. Just either email me, or you can track me down via my Facebook page and send me a message. Rob Fellows Reiki is the Facebook page. So send me a message and I'm happy to answer any questions that people have got. And if anybody wants to take up Reiki and bring it into your lives, I'd be delighted to assist them on that journey.
Yeah, I did the human Reiki in person training, and I think I'm interested in the animal one to see what extra bits I could learn that may not have been covered when I did the human side. So that's interesting. Cool. So on behalf of everyone here, we'd like to thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge with us this evening. Victoria said thank you. You're welcome, Victoria.
No, thank you everybody for the great questions. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's my pleasure. It's been my pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm definitely gonna start my Reiki. I've not been treating myself as much. I do give myself a little session before animals come in here, and I'll clean the room with the symbols, because at Reiki you learn the symbols, don't you?
Reiki level 2 stuff. Reiki level 2, that is.
So I cleanse the room and all that stuff. Yeah. But I need to start doing it a bit more with. I'm going to use it more with my family and.
Are you good?
Yeah, and I do know as well. Funny enough, when you say about the effects on how it spreads out, when I have a dog in a session here, and I might use a little bit as a passive touch to start off a session. Usually I do, but I'm hearing your report on that massage therapist. I might try using it at the end as well. So, but often clients are falling asleep. They get really relaxed.
Absolutely. Most room,
it changes.
I've also had situations where I've been doing a talk, to the live group, and I've got a dog on a on the table, and I'm giving the dog some Reiki, and then the dog will fall asleep.
Yeah.
While I'm talking, and then people start to laugh and go, "Look at the dog! The dog's just gone to sleep." So it's pretty good. It's pretty
Brilliant.
good.
So before we go, I'm just going to tell everyone when our next webinar is. That's going to be on Wednesday, the 11th of December, and that's with Dr. Isla Fishburn. Isla's going to be talking about supporting our canine friends from a place of heart-led coexistence. So Isla's a wonderful one to listen to as well. Well worth listening to Isla Fishburn. She's fabulous. So
I can endorse that. She's good.
Yeah, she's lovely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
with that, we'll say good night to everyone. Good night, Rob, and thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.